Karen expects total stranger to babysit her child, even after being told no. So this is a weird one. Not my story, but a friend who messaged me right after it happened to vent, cause WTF? So Karen moved into the apartment next to friends a couple of weeks ago. Karen has struck up short, polite conversations with friend just 2 times in that period, with the second being yesterday, the day before this whole fiasco unfolded. This morning at about 9 a.m., while friend was having a nice Saturday breakfast, she gets up at 6 a.m. on weekdays, so this was a weekend lie-in for her. Someone started aggressively banging on her front door. When friend answered, Karen was standing there with kid, 5-year-old girl, who had a little backpack on. Sounding very flustered, Karen said she was sorry to have to ask this with no notice, but could friend please watch kid for a few hours, because Karen had somewhere really important to be. Now, something you need to understand about friend is that she can't stand kids and has no idea how to deal with them. Like, she tenses up and gets super awkward if a kid so much as waves at her in the supermarket. Friend is also disabled. She uses a motorized wheelchair, sometimes in a walking cane for short distances or when she's just pottering around her own home. She lives with her girlfriend, who is also her carer. Her chronic illnesses involve fainting spells and a lot of brain fog, so by her own account, she's absolutely not someone who should be left in charge of a child. Karen has seen friend using both her wheelchair and her cane, and has seen friend's girlfriend, who was at work when this all happened, helping her in and out of their car. So friend responded with a firm no, explaining that her medical conditions meant that kid would not be safe in her care and that she's not well enough ATM to have any guests, let alone an unattended kid, in her home, anyway. Karen immediately flipped from pleading and simpering to hand-on-hip indignation, at this point, accusing friend of faking her disabilities, because, of course, if she can walk at all, then she obviously doesn't actually need a wheelchair, right? And threatened to report her to Centrelink, welfare, if friend didn't watch kid for her. Never mind the fact that friend isn't on welfare, lol. Her girlfriend has a high-paying job and friend works somewhere between part-time and full-time hours from home most weeks. She's a goddamn machine and I don't know how she manages it. Newsflash, not all disabled people are unable to work. Although, of course, getting employers to actually hire us is another matter, cause ableism. So friend basically said, I'm not on Centrelink and I don't appreciate being blackmailed. Find another babysitter, because I am not it. And closed her door. Karen kept banging on the door for a bit, but eventually left. About 20 minutes later, friend heard a very faint, timid tapping on her front door. She said if she hadn't been so close to it, she probably wouldn't have heard it. She sighed heavily, having kinda already guessed what was happening. She opened the door and there was kid, who had clearly been crying, clutching the shoulder straps of her little backpack. She said, very softly, Mummy said I could stay here today. Now, like I said, friend cannot stand kids, but even she said that kid was an absolute darling throughout this entire fiasco and the most she ever did was cry, because her mother is clearly a goddamn monster. Karen had driven off and sent kid to friend's door, clearly thinking that if she left friend with no alternative, she'd just play along and babysit kid for her, anyway, especially since friend had literally no way of contacting Karen. Wrong. Friend escaped abusive parents at a young age and this crap made her furious. She got kid settled in front of the TV with a drink and some snacks, and called the police. Yeah, my neighbor just abandoned her 5-year-old daughter outside of her apartment and the kid showed up at my door, asking to come in. When the officers arrived, friend told them the full story and while they were appalled, she said they weren't surprised. One said, you'd be shocked at how not rare this kind of thing is. Which is honestly kind of the worst part of all this. The officers took kid with them and were really sweet with her, explaining to her that she wasn't in any trouble and had done the right thing, and that they were there to look after her and find out where her mummy had gone. Friend found out later that they were able to contact kid's father, who is currently working on finalizing a divorce from Karen and was also appalled, but not remotely surprised by what she'd done. Here's hoping he gets full custody of the poor kid after all this. Update. Hey guys, thank you so much for the awards and all of your interest in friend's story. I messaged friend asking if she had any updates and boy, that was an emphatic yes, haha. This morning, she had another knock on her door, only it was the dad with kid in tow. He went there to apologize for what his ex had done and so he and kid could thank friend for looking after kid and for calling the police. She said he seemed like a good guy who was clearly putting his kid first in all this, which was really reassuring to hear. He told friend that, according to his lawyer, her calling the police and handling everything the way she had would basically be a gift-wrapped custody battle win for him, because WTF kind of court would ever grant Karen custody after the crap she'd pulled? His lawyer was over the moon when the dad called him, haha. Friend also asked the dad WTF had been so important that Karen had abandoned her own daughter over it. You guys ready for this? It's so goddamn cliche. It was an appointment at a nail salon. She'd brought kid several times previously and just demanded that the staff babysit her and refused to even acknowledge the kid during her me time. When she'd called yesterday morning to book a last minute appointment, cause Karen's, the staff put their foot down and told her she could no longer bring her kid to her appointments and would be refused service if she did. The dad also said that Karen had shown up so late to the appointment that they'd refused to see her, anyway. Again, cause Karen's. So she abandoned her daughter cause she wanted her me time, getting her nails done. The dad told friend that me time is an excuse Karen uses to ignore her kid, basically anytime she feels like it. Do not talk to me during my me time. Etc. The dad also asked friend if she would be okay to help with his custody battle. He said he understood that her health isn't great and that his lawyer had said a written statement would be fine. He said while it probably wasn't essential, since they had the police report, he wanted to have as much evidence on his side as possible, just to be sure. Of course, friend agreed. Karen hasn't yet shown up at friend's door to scream at her, so friend's thinking maybe dealing with the police put some actual fear of consequences into her, lol. We shall see. I will, of course, post further updates if I receive any.